page 2 of your semester fall exam review. Okay, fall semester exam review. All right, going on, we're just going to continue on, going to number 6 here on the right side. Remember, we're doing the left side in class. The right side is for me to show you to do, or for you to try on your own and then check your answer with this video. Okay, so number 6, we did this in class, a problem like this. What you're going to do is, the easiest way is to use your calculator. Okay, so calculator. And then if you remember, we are, I don't think you really have one at home, but the calculator, if you want to study at school, you're going to use your menu, and then you're going to go to table, and then split screen table. Split screen. If you guys want to study that, and so you remember the steps, and then once you get the table, you're going to have your x values. It's going to look something like this, and then all of your x values are going to be here, and then your y values are going to be on the right, and then usually the x are just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, all in descending order, just like that, or ascending order, and your y's are going to be whatever the equation tells you. Okay, if you don't remember, you can just pick any number for the x, plug it in, find your y's, but you might have to do that multiple times. Okay, so this is the easiest way to use the calculator. All right, going on to number 7, says what is the range of the function? So in class we did the domain on the left side of this worksheet. So today, in this one, we're actually going to do the range. And I didn't mean to put the domain and range above the mapping, but that's what I did on accident. So just as a reminder, you should already have this written down on your papers, but just as a reminder, the domain has to deal with the x values. Or if you have a mapping like this, it's going to be the left side. Okay. And the range has to deal with the y values. Or if you have a mapping, then it's going to be the right side. Okay. And so when you list the range, when you have a mapping like this, all you do is you just take all of the numbers that are in the right side, all of these numbers, and you list them in ascending order, in other words, from least to greatest. You're going to see it have a parentheses kind of like this. I don't remember what it's called, but I call it fancy parentheses. 2.25, comma 6.75, comma, and you can just put 10 here because 10.00 is the same thing as 10. And then you close that parentheses. So notice that there are 4 in the domain, but there's only 3 in the range. That's okay. You don't want to put 6.75 twice, even though there's 2 arrows going to 6.75. You only want to list it one time. That's what you'll see an answer on the test, just like that. Okay. Moving on to number 8. It says, what is a graph that does not represent y as a function of x? Okay, so remember, just as a reminder, there is a test that you want to do. It's called the vertical line test, or you guys may have learned it as the pencil test. Vertical line test. Okay, or if you'd rather prefer the term pencil test, then that is fine too. Okay. Remember, all you're doing is going on each individual graph and drawing vertical lines, or using your pencil and just sliding it across the graph and seeing if it touches in more than one point. Okay, so you see here in the first graph that this is a function because all my vertical lines, it only touches the graph in one point at a time. It will never touch twice. And remember, the question is asking, what is a graph that does not represent a function? Make sure you read the directions if it is a function or if it is not a function. Okay? Going to the top right here, now we have a circle, and a circle is not a function because you see it doesn't matter how many vertical lines I draw, you see how it touches in more than one point. So that means it is not a function, or in other words, the x is repeat. All right. Let me go back here. I accidentally touched something. Okay, there we go. So we are going to go vertical lines, and they touch in more than one point. All right. The next, so this one would be one of your answers. If it was a test, this one is not a function, so that would be your answer. The next graph, I do want you guys to check all of them because there might be more than one answer. If you draw a bunch of vertical lines on this graph, you see how it only touches in one point at a time. So that is a function, so that is not your answer. And the last one is just a line. If it is a line, it is always going to be a function because a line will never turn around to be able to have the x's repeat. All right, so in this one, it is only going to be one of the functions is not a function, or one of the graphs is not a function. Okay. Last one on page 2. Number 9, what is the domain and range of the graphs below? Okay, so you have two graphs here. One is a continuous graph, one is a discrete graph. All right, so on this graph here, I know you don't have colors on your paper. Yours is in black and white. That's okay. This one, if you guys want, you can label it continuous up above the graph, just so you know. Continuous is the easier one to remember because it continues on forever. Therefore, it's a continuous graph. All right, so the domain. Okay, so let me zoom out here. Going to the bottom, listing the domain of this upside down parabola. Okay, the domain here is going to be basically how wide does this graph go from left to right. Well, you see here how we have arrows going down, right? So that means that this graph is going to go down forever. It's also going to get wider and wider forever, right? If we have a big enough graph, we'll see, right? So the domain here is actually going to be all real numbers, because this graph never stops getting wider. Okay, so this is going to be all real numbers. And the range is a little bit different. Okay, you want to see if there is a peak or a bottom to this graph, or a floor or a ceiling. Okay, in this case there's a ceiling, or in other words a place where the graph turns around and goes the other direction. So you see how it is going down here, and then it comes here, and then it goes up, touches this point, and then goes back down forever. So all the numbers that are below this number here, which in this case is 0, are solutions. Okay, so remember, range has to deal with the y values. So you're going to have a y, and then all of the solutions, are they less than 0 or greater than 0? That's what you need to ask yourself. In this case, they are less than 0, so it's actually going to be less than or equal to, because there's not a hole in the graph. It is a solid point, so therefore there is a line underneath your inequality. So less than or equal to, and then whatever number that is. In this case, it is 0. Okay, so that'll be your range there. Because what this is saying is all the values that are less than or equal to 0 are solutions for your range, or your y values. All right, good. And then now this graph here, this is what's called a discrete graph. Discrete. Okay. That means that you just have coordinates that are not connected by a line or a parabola or anything like that. They're just coordinates. Okay. So this one is going to be kind of like what number do we do? Kind of like number 7, how you list your domain and range just as in parentheses the numbers. Okay, so the domain, remember, domain, let me put a squiggly here. Domain has to deal with the x values. So you can start on the left side. Start on the left side, which is at the very top of the graph, and circle that coordinate. And you're just going to draw a line connecting to the x-axis and circle that coordinate. I know it's not an exact number there, but it is right in the middle of 0 and 2, so that is going to be 1. Okay. So your first coordinate, or your first number for your domain is going to be 1. And then circle your next coordinate, draw a line to the x-axis. That is going to be 3. Next one is going to be 5, 7, and 9. And then you can close your parentheses. Okay. And now the range has to deal with, it's going to be the same coordinates. Okay, it is going to be the same coordinates, except for the range you're going to list the y values to those coordinates. Okay, so if you can start on the top if you want, but you are going to have to rewrite these. They always have them from least to greatest. Okay, so on the left side you have, if you draw to the y-axis, you have a number of 9. The next coordinate, you have a number of 7. Oops, let's say 3. Try to do the 7 and the comma at the same time. Here we go, 7. And then the next one's going to be 5. And 3. And then 1. Okay? So this is not how you'll see it as an answer choice, because you notice how the bigger number is 9. that is first in how we wrote it. So we need to rewrite this as the range in descending order. I'm sorry, in ascending order, meaning from least to greatest. So the 1 is the least number, so it's going to be 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Okay, so this will be your range answer right there. Okay. All right, so that completes page 2 of your semester exam review. And so here is everything in case you want to see it all. It's like that. We had number 1 here. I'm sorry, number 6. That's just on the calculator. If you need to find that many coordinates, it's easier to do on the calculator. Number 7. I'm sorry, I didn't review on number 6. What you want to do on the calculator is graph this on the calculator, meaning that you go to your calculator home button, press add graphs, and then you're just going to enter this stuff here, 3x minus 10. Press enter, that'll give you your graph, and then you go and press menu, table, split screen. All right, and then number 8, you're just seeing if it's a function or not, vertical line test. And number 9, just listing a domain and range. If it's continuous and it keeps getting wider and wider, then it's going to be all real numbers for the domain. If it's a line, just a regular line, then it'll be all real numbers for the domain and the range. All right, that completes page 2.